Well, the world is a dumpster fire, and nothing here makes sense. And you vacillate between crippling fear and constant self-defense. And nothing's right and nothing's good, and you're paralyzed with grief. Don't kill yourself, just have a cup of coffee.
Welcome to Coffee Over Suicide, the dramedy podcast about mental illness and choosing life over death, one cup of coffee at a time. I'm your host, Chris Parker Howard. And today on the show, from A-Game Consultancy, we have got Adam Smith. This is a pretty fantastic conversation. He talks about losing an incredible amount of weight, creating a plan of discipline, of sobriety, and overcoming depression and suicide through action and behavior. And it's a really, really great conversation, which we're going to get into very quickly. But right out of the gate, I do want to mention some things that will be changing. Coffee Over Suicide is and will always be a free podcast, but as such, I got to find a way to pay the bills. The Patreon is out there, of course, if you feel like you want to help kick it in that direction. You can find Coffee Over Suicide on Patreon. And that means that I've got to have a day job. So with my day job and the other things that I'm doing in my life, it means that sometimes things don't always get out on time. Episodes will always get out there. They will always be free. And the Thursday meetings will always be a priority. There's some big news. I will be going back to college to actually get a degree. So at some point, a real therapist will be talking to you from this show. I am getting my degree, and we'll see how that shakes out. I've also started taking improv classes. Those two things could not be farther apart. And yet here we are. Life is all about choices and challenges and, who are you going to show up as? And that is a perfect segue into what's happening with today's guest. It is a great conversation about choices and forming habits and creating a discipline for yourself, even when you think you can't. So yeah, let's get into this conversation with Adam Smith. I'm doing good. It's that time of year. People have short attention spans, short tempers, and it's really an exercise in managing what I have the ability to control. But where am I talking to you from?
I'm based in a little town called Boston Spa, which is about 20 miles from Leeds in the north of England.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's a really quaint little sort of town. It's like maybe a village, but either way, it's really nice and really quiet. So, yeah, it's great. I love it.
So I must be catching you near the end of your day.
About midway through, in a sense, really. It's about 3 p.m. here, so it's not too bad. But yeah, no, we've got a long sort of rest of the day ahead after this. Got a lot of calls and group coaching and stuff. So yeah, it's all good.
Well, talk to me a little bit about that. I want to get your whole deal because you've got quite a story that gets you from where you were to where you are. So let's start all the way back, as I really like to do, to get a picture of a person tell me about what were you like as a kid? What was your childhood like?
My childhood was almost like the Hallmark card, right? Perfect upbringing in a sense. Didn't want for anything. Had very loving, supporting parents that are still married to this day, which in itself is very rare. When I look at my friendship circle, for example, there's not that many friends that parents are still together. So, and in a loving marriage as well, nonetheless. So that was great. And got an older brother who's 3 years older than me. So typical young boys that would argue and fight all the time and hate each other and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, as we've got older, our relationships really developed. School was very difficult for me. I was not very successful from the academic standpoint, purely because teaching back then was very outdated. I wasn't interested. I learned at the age of 15 that I have dyspraxia. So that's essentially like your attention deficit's all over. Fine motor skills aren't the best either. Everything I did was, self-taught in a sense through repetition that I became good at, like tennis, football, things like that. I have no right to have any remote ability for, but, quite good at both, for example. But yeah, so dyspraxia, basically, if you're looking up at the blackboard and all the words are on the blackboard and you look down to write on your page and then you look back up at the blackboard, it's there, and it takes you a few seconds to get you, to get where you were. But if you repeat that 10 times, all the information's wiped off and it's written down again. So I've got probably half a page of notes. And because I was writing so quickly and my fine motor skills aren't good, I couldn't even read my own writing. So my actual reading ability, mathematical ability and all that was very advanced. But when it came to retaining information through pure audio, it didn't work because we all consume content through a variety of ways, whether that's kinesthetically, auditorial, visual, we all retain it very differently. And teaching in its simplest form is taking an unknown and making it into a known. Unfortunately, I had an unknown paired with another unknown. So, which is obviously very difficult in fairness to the teachers. They only have a limited amount of time they can teach and they've got 30 kids to teach and all that kind of stuff. But school was very challenging academically, but I was kind of like on the outside, like the stereotypical dumb jock American kind of thing. I was in the bottom set for everything when it came to English, maths and what have you, because I just wasn't interested. I knew that I wasn't going to do well. That was my limited belief. I was like, I'm not going to do well, so what's the point? Everything I actually cared about, I did okay in. And then sport, I thrived in. So it didn't matter, in that sense, when it's all about being cool, right? You get to 16, 17 and you start going, oh no. It doesn't, the outside world doesn't care how cool you are. You need a little bit more about you than that. So I kind of lent on the fact that my dad has got a successful plumbing and gas company. And, he employed a team of people and he brought in a great salary. We went to the States quite a few times, been to New York, Vegas, Florida, all that kind of stuff. Been amazing. I just thought, that's fine, I'll just do that without actually thinking about what was involved, because all I saw was the success. I didn't see what happened in the dark. I only saw what happened in the light. So I just saw all the best bits of it. And I did it for a year. I did an apprenticeship and I absolutely hated it. And it cost thousands. And I remember there was one day when I was laid down in a ditch, fixing a pipe. And something just burst, and only God knows what liquid it was hit me square in the face. As I was laying face down in a trench, and I knew that moment that I'd made a mistake and that this wasn't for me anymore. So I spoke to him. He was great, very supportive, and I just needed a job. So I was looking for a job for a while. Applied for this company, And I thought it was a clothes shop, but it was actually a bar and restaurant because it was under the same name as what other clothes shop was in a different town. And I just assumed it was that. And they said, "Why do you want to work in hospitality?" I was like, "I don't." I said, "Isn't this retail?" They're like, "No." "Why are you even here?" I was like, "I don't know." And they thought it was hilarious, so they hired me. So, yeah, I just got through on dumb luck and, charm alone, really. So
Yeah.
that was fine. And then I was in that position. I got made head bartender after a few months or a year or whatever. Moved to one of the busier branches, and then I was in hospitality for 14 years. I was in and out of that company for a long time, went to different places in Leeds in the north of England and met some incredible people, had some great times, but also had some very, 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 very dark times because of that as well. And, when I looked at the name of your podcast, I was like, I love coffee and I felt suicidal and I've overcome it. So this is a great match, right? And it literally drove me to that point. People talk about depression a lot. And really, a depressive state comes from a sad state, and a sad state comes from usually not being enough, and you're not really enough due to the habits that you have. So, I know there are people out there with chemical imbalances of the brain, which can lead you to more depressive thoughts. It can create anxiety disorder and schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and multiple personality disorder. I understand all of that. However, I also think there's a very large portion of people, which I was included in, which were doing depression. And I was doing depression through my habits and through my standards and my behaviors. I was drinking too much alcohol, like an ungodly amount of alcohol. I was in the top 3 percentile of alcohol consumption in the UK based on the units that I was consuming. Drugs, late nights, one-night stands, takeout every night, not communicating to friends properly or family members, not exercising as much as I used to. You name it. It was like a tick list of all the bad things you can do to yourself, and I was doing it.
I mean, just filling a hole, just trying to just fill a hole with anything that would normally bring you some kind of joy. Fried fish brings you joy, several pints. 2 pints will bring you joy. So 4 must be great. 7 must be amazing. Sex is great. How much of that can we have? All of these things are so short term and so small. And in the long term, when you really expand it out, they can be so damaging when not managed properly. It's amazing the way that the brain starts making those connections and just wiring those things in, because these are behaviors and practices that you put in place to serve you, to help you. You're doing these harmful things to yourself to help yourself. And it's so hard to see when it's right in front of you. You have to step back. What was the first moment for you of like stepping back?
Oh, there was
How far down did you have to go?
Yeah, unfortunately, for me, it was, everyone's got their own interpretation of what rock bottom is. And, it's all completely subjective as well, because our version as a, white, straight man in the north of England, I mean, you don't get more privileged than that, right?
Yeah.
In the main scale of society. So, yes, my rock bottom is very different to that of a small African child in the slums of Kenya, for example.
Yeah.
But the thing is about that, the only challenge to this is that they only know what they know. They've got nothing to compare it to. So I feel like, in a different sense, we've got a very different pressure on us in order to do that and go, yeah, but I've not got it as bad as. But it doesn't matter whether you're a billionaire or whether you're a homeless person. Everyone's got a very different view of the world, and we don't have to necessarily respect everyone's view of the world, but we have to understand that they have one.
Yes.
And, so what I mean is, I don't respect the view of the world of Hitler. I don't respect it, but I can understand it that he's got a different view than I do. So, you know, when we compare ourselves to people, because people say comparison is the thief of joy, and I agree. But that's usually a phrase that is used for, say, Dwayne Johnson. You know, like, oh, I wish I had what he had. You know, he's good looking, he's rich, he's in good shape. But comparison can also go the other way, in that I don't even know what I'm complaining about. I've got everything, but still, because no matter how, you know, air quote successful you are, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I know friends that are crying in their Ferraris because they've achieved, you know, by societal normaties, unbelievable success, yet they still feel like they've failed in a different area of their life. So for me, my first sort of moment where I stepped out of myself and looked at my own life really was when I hit my version of rock bottom, because I couldn't even see it. I knew inherently and intellectually that what I was doing was wrong, but I didn't really see how it was affecting other people as much. So there was one where, my story very quickly, I was working a lot of hours over Christmas for this particular company. And, you know, it was 8 a.m. till probably 10 p.m. and then you'd go home and you'd be on your email and you'd be worrying about the next day. And it was like that for the entirety of December. And we had a team that, you know, we needed probably 50 or 60 staff. And I probably had about 40 for the Christmas period. So we're already really down on numbers. And I was just so stressed. And, you know, the partner I was with at the time, we were together for 4 years. And I wasn't showing up in the relationship. We didn't really care. You know, I'd have a day off and the bins needed taking out and the dishes needed doing. And I'm sat there in my sweatpants playing PlayStation. You know, I get home from a long day at work, come home thinking, oh, we might have sex tonight. We might, you know, try rejuvenate some of the passion. And she's there in Sudocreme and pajamas watching Kardashians. We just weren't showing up for each other at all.
Yeah.
You know, it was just fizzling because, but ultimately I take the brunt of the responsibility in that my work dominated my life at the time. So obviously other bad habits creep in. You eat takeout, you put weight on, you feel lousy, you don't sleep as well, it goes out on your partner again. It just keeps going round and round and round. So it got to a point where my stress with work was actually causing me insomnia because I was so worried about the next day and about the pre-orders and about this corporate booking and about nothing really when I look back on it now. Nothing matters, but at the time it did. So I approached one of my bosses at the time, and we really didn't get on. And I broke down in tears in front of him, which was a pretty low point for me because I didn't like this person anyway. And he said, look, take a few days off over Christmas. And the whole time I was just worried about where the relationship's going and how we're going to sort it out and all that kind of stuff. Got through Christmas, fine. I went back to work after only 5 days, and that was way too soon. I was in a pretty deep depressive state. I was anxious. I was exhausted. I remember on Christmas Eve, I didn't dare go out because my physique had got to a point where I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. I didn't want to see people from my hometown at Christmas in case they would ridicule me or, you know, I felt insecure. That was a low point.
Right. Yeah.
And then breaking down from the boss was a real low point. But I lost the relationship. So I went to a doctor, got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And then 3 or 4 days later, the relationship ended. So I asked for a few days of space, and then she said, I need some time to think now. Came round. I saw the car parked out the front with her friends driving. I was like, it wasn't her car. So I wonder what she's doing, because she came in for what was supposed to be crunch talks. We were supposed to be sorting everything out. And then she walked in, ended the relationship, out the door in about 5 minutes. So she's obviously been planning this all week because the relationship was bad anyway. You know, it's called a breakup because it's broken, right? And she was the only one that had the sort of fortitude to do it. So it was really tough, though. It felt like someone had stabbed me and walked out. You know, the pain was horrific.
Yeah.
Went to the doctor, signed off with that. And then I had January off. I was frustrated the whole of January, didn't know what to do. Was checking my phone every 30 seconds in hope that she'd text me saying come back. Didn't happen. And then I lost a family member. My auntie passed away to a brain hemorrhage. And then a week later, another friend of the family had a heart attack. So now down 2 family members, down a relationship. I'm feeling really nervous about going back to work. At this point, it's only 5 or 6 days away. And I'm like, I'm not ready to go back and manage a team and deal with all that kind of stuff. Went back way too early. Long story short, a couple of months went by, lose the job as well due to poor mental health. You're not the same leader as we thought you were, blah, 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 blah. So that was pretty difficult pill to swallow. And then another family member passed away. So I'm just like, what's going on? You know, a week or 2 went by and I landed my dream job. It was a bar that I've always wanted to manage and I got it. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. But all the plus points were all the downsides. It was late nights, it was cocktails, it was great atmosphere, fire breathing, dancing on the bar. But you're finishing work at 4 a.m., 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are taking all sorts to just stay awake. So, again, cocaine, copious amounts of alcohol. I mean, we're talking while working, it was encouraged that you could have a drink with your guests as rapport building, atmosphere. But this was like a bottle and a half of whiskey while working bad.
Yeah.
And being functional. And I don't say that to impress anyone. I was horrified.
No, but that's exactly how that goes. I mean, that's I've been in that exact same position. That was a lot of my 20s. Was tending bar, and I mean, you've got to be able to have a drink or two. Otherwise, you're viewed as, you're not a real bartender. I mean, you start to learn some tricks on how to fake it, but it's expected. There's an expectation from the patrons there, but they don't know that they're the 12th person to try to buy you a shot. They don't know that they're, you know what I mean? It's so, but when you get to that point where you can down a bottle and a half of whiskey and function just fine, you've got a problem. You've got a real problem. That's not a good thing to be good at. No,
it was a character that I created. It was like this mask, it was, I mean, I'm 6'5" and I was probably 265 pounds at the time. I'm a big guy, and it was like, Big Adam, party animal, da 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 da. No, sad Adam, crying Adam, depressed Adam that you don't see. And I'd formed all these fake, air quote friendships based on what I could provide for them. Receiving messages, "Oh, you working tonight? Is Adam working tonight? Where's Big Adam?" And sometimes I didn't even know who these people were. They were friends of friends that were coming and asking me for free drinks or cheap drinks. And again, you think that they like you. They don't. They're here for one thing, and that's what you can give them. Yeah. Because funnily enough, when I left the bar, half the messages stopped. Strange, right? So don't get me wrong. I met a lot of great people down there, and I'll always say this in the sense of a job, because I don't class what I do now as a job. It's the best job I ever had, because it was just so much fun, and I learned a lot about myself and all the rest of it. But I went to therapy. It wasn't for me. Nothing against the guy. He was a really nice guy, but it just wasn't working for me. I really needed coaching. Right. I needed more rebuttal. Yeah. It felt like talking to a wall. So, and I know that's the style of therapy, obviously, but it just wasn't for me. So,
well, the thing about that too, not to interrupt, just to add an anecdote, the way that I've come to understand it through my own experiences with therapy and with coaching is that therapy is very good at digging up and understanding the past and how you got here. And coaching is very much about how to get forward, how to get there versus what did I do to get here? What can I do to get there? So just I thought that was appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's it's focusing on the problem rather than focusing on the solution. And I understand that we don't want to dance around the garden and say there are no weeds here, right? Because those weeds are going to take your garden. But I also don't want to go, oh no, look at that weed. That weed's so big, and look how deep rooted it is, and that's going to take forever. You know, that was the problem that I had with therapy. I know there's a problem, but I don't need to put a magnifying glass on it and keep revisiting it. I knew it was there. Let's rip it out. Let's plant some new seeds down, right? And then it got to about September of 2017, maybe. Yeah. And my best friend's dad just passed away in the night, completely unexpected. And, you know, this guy was very close to me, and it's someone that I had a lot of respect for. And it just came so out of the blue, 53 or 54 years old, just like, boom, gone. And that hit me like a train. So I remember at his funeral, I was looking around for him. I was in such denial that this guy had actually passed away. I was like, where is he? You know, and I looked around and I thought, what's the point? Like, what's the point of all this? You've got a crying wife over there, 3 crying sons, a room full of 300 people. Like, what is the point of this thing that we call life, right? And I just thought, I'm just going to end it. I'm just going to end it today. I've got nothing to live for anymore. Like, you know, I'm miserable. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. No one's going to miss me. So, fuck it. How can I do it? How can I end it? And I remember being at the wake, and I drank about 10 pints. But because I was drinking so much at the time, it didn't even really hit the sides, and no one even registered that I was remotely intoxicated. So I went back home. It was about a 10-minute walk from where the wake was to, well, 5-minute walk even, to my parents' house. And I thought, I know how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to get in my car. I'm just going to plow it into a tree or a bridge or a pole or something at high speed. Yeah. Because that way I don't harm anyone else. The only people I'll be found by is the police, and, you know, done, right? So I said bye to my mum, and I was crying. She thought I was crying because of the funeral. I was crying because I thought this is the last time I'm going to see my mum. Yeah. And then got in the car, drove off, and I picked the bridge. I was like, this is perfect. It's a stone bridge. I'm going to hit it at full power, full speed, and it's going to kill me instantly. So I remember just driving about 100 plus miles an hour, and I got a few 100 feet away, and, you know, I could see it in the distance, and the phone started to ring. It just flashed up with Mum on the screen, and straight away I was like, and then I pressed answer, and she's like, Adam? I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, you've left your wallet at home. Do you want me to bring it round for you? And I just slammed on the brakes, and the car just span out of control. I was just like, as soon as I heard a voice, it was like, boom, I just snapped out of it. I was driving like almost like this light. I can't explain it. I just thought, this is it. And then as soon as the phone rang, boom, and it said, Mum, that hit, and then a voice hit, and I was like, oh, shit. So I slammed the car on, and then I span out of control and just pulled into a lay-by, and I just sobbed. And I mean sobbed. You know, it was like somebody had poured 5 litres of water over my head. My shirt was just sodden. And it was that moment that I knew that I had something to live for, at least. And then I started to practice like almost instant gratitude in my head. I'd never practiced gratitude before in the literal sense, but I was like, how lucky am I that my mum just rang me then? How lucky am I to have a mum that loves me? How lucky am I that my parents are still married? How lucky am I for my family? And I just started doing that. And I got even more upset because I was like, I would have caused all this pain and all this suffering. So, it was a very surreal, challenging moment for sure. And I knew that, while I'd hit my version of rock bottom, there's an old phrase which is, rock bottom is a great foundation on which to build, because you can't get any lower than rock bottom. Yeah. So everything from now is going to be a plus point, and I can handle anything now that's thrown at me because of that. Those mental sort of calluses that I've put on my mind, Yeah.
Yeah, it's the now that the worst has happened and you've experienced it, you've been there, things just don't seem as scary anymore because you already know that, yeah, I can see how bad things can possibly get because I've been there and I lived through it. So it almost creates a whole new set of pathways in your brain that show you what's possible for you to live through. I think that it is strengthening in some ways. Not that I'd ever recommend it. Like, don't go hunting for rock bottom. But there is something about making that decision to come out of rock bottom and realizing that you do have some level of agency over it, of where you go next, what you do next. And the very idea that you've now got all these choices up in front of you, it can be liberating in a way and get you through the next few steps while it gets hard to dig your way out. So tell me about digging your way out. Like where did you start as far as getting your mind into that headspace where you were able to start focusing on, growth and change again, because that had to be tough from where you were.
Sure. Yeah, it was, I think it was I did Sober October, because it was literally a few weeks after the funeral. And I thought, I need to take a break from booze because this is just, literally killing me. When I went to the doctor and I started making jokes to friends like, oh, I'm in the top 3%. It's the first time I've been top 3% for anything, but it's alcohol consumption. So,
Right.
I had probably quite a few, up and down moments. Sorry, wait 1 second. Let me just shut this door.
Of course.
I had a few up and down moments over the next sort of 2 years, really, where, I stopped, I started, I flirted with self-development. I mean, I've studied self-development incessantly since I was 18. I always knew that I wanted to work with people in some capacity, coming across the likes of Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and Les Brown and people like that was just incredible. So I've looked into all that for a very long time. I always knew that's what I was going to do. It was just a matter of when I felt good enough and confident enough in order to do it. So, the job I stayed at was great for another year or so. We won national awards and did great, best top 15 cocktail bars in the UK and things like that. It was awesome. And it got to probably... I went to go work for a different company, hated that. I went to go work for another one, then lockdown hit.
Yeah.
And when the lockdown hit, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because, and I don't want to, brush over that because I know people lost family members, lost businesses. There's all sorts of, horrendous things that happen. But for me personally, it was the best thing that ever happened because I've had my fair share of crap. I thought, I need a break. I need to hit the pause button. I need to reevaluate everything. Because there was a lot of areas of my life that I wasn't happy in. So it came at the perfect time. So I had the first, 3 to 4 weeks of playing PlayStation in my underwear because what else was there to do? And then, and then I thought, right, I don't know what it is I want to do, but I want to help people. So I looked into coaching badges for football. I looked into going back to personal training. So I did that before. And then I came across this course from Tony Robbins known as KBB, which is the Knowledge Broker Blueprint, which essentially is taking what knowledge you have and turning it into either a course or a program to help people, and you gain the qualifications through that. So it wasn't really anything specific that I'm qualified in, but it takes like 6 months to a year, and I did it in about 3 months because, again, what else was there to do? So doing like 12 to 15 hour days of pure immersion on this stuff and just threw myself at it. So did that, set up my own coaching business about 18 months ago now. And I use the knowledge that, around self-development, life coaching, habit creation, morning routine. But I've managed thousands of people over the years, and I'd have to be an idiot at this point not to see patterns in human behaviour. So I absolutely love working with people and noticing the little nuances that we all have of, when John said that to Steve, look at Steve's reaction, and then look at John's reaction to Steve's reaction. And I'd pick social occasions apart, and I could understand what was happening 15, 20 feet away without even hearing what the conversation was, just through patterns of movement and stuff. So I thought, if I can do it I can do it by asking good questions too. So I set that up, and after about 6 months, I was really down again, because I thought, this is what I've always wanted. I always knew I was going to work for myself, because I always had a bigger vision than being employed. That's not a slight on anybody that is employed. It just wasn't for me. And I thought, what am I going to do? I've got, a good amount of money built up now. I've got a good client base, but I'm still not fulfilled. And I realised that I missed working as part of a team. So 2 friends of mine who were basically clients, I loved all my clients, but I loved speaking to these 2, because the real goal getters get up at the crack of dawn, go work out, really involved in meditation and gratitude. They just got it, they stuck to it, but they were still unfulfilled themselves. So I helped them get their mind right about how to increase fulfillment within their lives. Now, I thought, one of them's a personal trainer and a physio, and the other one's a nutritionist. And I thought, there's a gap in the market here for the 3 pillars of health, because there's technically 4 pillars of health. The 4th one is sleep. But if you get the other 3 pillars right, the byproduct is that you have a good sleep anyway. And they just both so happen to be called Adam as well, which is just a wonderful accident, right? So it wasn't just the 3 Adams that I thought would work. I thought, internal, physical, and mental health. What if we could get people on full nutrition plans, full workout plans, and then full mindset coaching as well? I don't know anywhere that's doing this. So I rang them both up one day, and one of them was doing an okay sort of job as a physio. The other one was in, trying to get into coaching, but didn't know how or what or whatever to do. He just knew that he was finishing his nutrition off. And I rang them both and I said, I've got this idea. What do you reckon? And they both went, yep, let's do it. And I was like, oh, shit, that was easy. So literally, the next day, we're on a group call. And we're on a group call. These 2 had never met before. Yeah. And they're both just like, yeah, let's do it. Got on a group call, and then they were in. Set up a group chat, started the company, and then here we are. A year later, it was our first birthday on Wednesday. Last Wednesday, was it? Or Thursday? Yeah, last week. So it's been a crazy year. We've helped hundreds of clients, worked with corporate companies like Diageo and the Atlantis in Dubai and all sorts. It's just been unbelievable. But to go through the hardships, I almost feel was necessary. Like you said earlier, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't say that it has to go to that much of an extent. But I realised that hitting that pause button, reevaluating and reassessing that things need to change. And the one common denominator in all of it was me. And I had to change. Because there's something that Jim Rohn, who's Tony Robbins' mentor for people that don't know, he said that his mentor asked him to bring a reasons list. All the reasons why you've not been successful. And he wrote the government, the weather, the traffic, his parents. He said, there's one problem with your list. You're not on it. So I knew at that moment it was like a smack in the face that I've been pointing the finger of blame at just about everything else other than myself, and I had to look within myself in order to change. And doing the hard yards, doing the necessary work in order to accept that maybe I don't know it all. Maybe I do need to invest in myself. Maybe I do need to change this certain behaviour. Maybe I do need to start implementing that. And it's been a very challenging process, even to this day. I have what some people would refer to as bad days. I don't like to call it a bad day. I like to just call it handling a bad moment poorly. And that's what I did the other day. It just frequently handling situations in a poor manner, but it's not a bad day. That's the biggest challenge I'll put to people. There are certainly bad moments in the day, for sure, more challenging ones, but whether you look at it as good or bad is your interpretation as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love everything that you're saying here. Because, I mean, we've all got our own road for how we get there, right? As far as finding that place of, educated, enlightened, whatever you want to call it. It all comes through experience and knowledge and trial and error and things like that. And the place that you are now, where you're knowledgeable and you're experiencing these things, and you have an understanding of how to change your reactions to situations and see yourself in the situation. When the negativity comes up, as it will, it's part of humanity, it's part of life. There's going to be little things. There's going to be those bad moments, like you said. When those things come up, is it easier for you now than it was before to come back from that?
Yeah, to be honest, how it tends to work is when you don't do any work on yourself, you react to everything emotionally.
Yeah.
Then when you start to do work on yourself, you're stuck between this emotional and objective bit, which is really difficult too. So it's what's known as like the negativity loop. So for example, if I'm in the car and somebody pulls out in front of me, most people slam on, beep the horn, you mother beep, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's a normal reaction because we go into survival mode instantly. It's like when people say to me, I want to kill myself. Well, I guarantee you, if I threw you into the ocean with a lead weight attached to you, you're going to fight for your life to survive.
Yeah.
It's an instinct, whether you like it or not. You're not just going to sink. So it's a natural thing to survive and to protect ourselves. Now, when you start doing work on yourself, you may swear still, but then you get annoyed that you've sworn and you've got frustrated because then you start judging yourself for being negative, and then you start judging yourself that you've judged yourself, and you're stuck in this negativity loop instantly. So the incident's happened, you've reacted to it, then you're reacting to your reaction. It's miserable. It causes a lot of heartache. Now, the stage I've got to at the moment is if someone pulls out, I will do the horn. I'll tell them to F off or whatever. But then I'm calm again a few minutes later and it doesn't ruin my day. So that's the biggest difference, is accepting the emotion. And then I have a 4-step method essentially. Deal with the reality of the situation. That's the best bit of advice I've heard or received in the last 12 years of self-development. Just deal with the reality of the situation. If you're overweight, deal with the reality. If your marriage is going down the toilet, deal with the reality of it. If your business is failing, deal with the reality of it, because that's all we have.
Yeah.
But don't look at it emotionally, look at it objectively. Like, what is it actually doing? Not, then the next step is look at it for what it is. So you've dealt with, let's say, with weight loss. You deal with the reality of the situation. I'm overweight. I'm going to look at the situation for what it is. Well, what it is isn't great because I'm overweight and I want to lose 50 pounds, let's say, or 20 pounds. Yeah. The next one is don't look at it for worse than it is. This is what a lot of people do. So deal with the reality. I'm overweight, and they go, look at it for what it is. Oh, I'm really frustrated. Then, oh no, I'm a fat loser. I've got no friends. I don't deserve happiness. That's looking at it for worse than it is. But eventually, you have to look at it for better than it is, because otherwise you'll just be stuck in what it is, and what it is still isn't great. So looking at it for better than it is okay, well, I could lose 5 or 6 pounds. I've been in shape before. What exercise could I start doing? What food groups can I start consuming again that I've neglected? How much water am I currently consuming? What if I got in the best shape of my life in the next 18 months? What confidence would that give me? How would that improve my marriage and my sex life? How would that improve my business? How would that improve the way I show up in relationships? Because otherwise, if you don't create a compelling future for yourself, you're just stuck in the current present, which isn't a great place to be either.
Yeah.
But again, don't make it worse than it is. So I just look at everything very objectively now. I have moments of feeling angry and feeling really happy and feeling down and feeling anxious, but I don't live there. I don't live in it all day. That's what I will say. I don't fester in that moment. I just allow the moment to happen, because what I see a lot of the time is, I had these really negative thoughts the other day. That's okay, because it's just a thought. The same way that when you're walking down the street and you see a little kid next to a main road, and you might say in your head, oh, imagine if that little kid ran in front of a car. It's just a thought. What if the car just derailed and just knocked over that kid? It doesn't make you a bad person or a good person or an indifferent, but it's just a thought. And no one ever died from having a thought. No one ever died from feeling an emotion.
Yeah.
So if we just allowed ourselves to have these thoughts and not judge ourselves having these thoughts, you'll create a lot more inner peace. Because what I hear a lot of the time is people say, I have this inner demon. I have this inner villain. Well, why are you putting such emphasis and negativity on your internal dialogue? We all have an internal dialogue. If you imagine yourself going within your own head now and screaming as loud as you can feel it. You can feel the internal screaming, right?
Yeah.
But rather than calling it an inner villain or a demon or the devil and the angel, just refer to it as your roommate or your friend. Oh, it's just my roommate. He's just popping up to have a conversation with me. So if I've got a big meeting on Thursday and it's Monday and I'm getting all my my calendar sorted, oh no, the interview on Thursday, let's talk about it. Let's have a chat with my roommate. Oh, what are you anxious for? Oh, well, it's a big meeting and, if I don't get it, then I'm going to be stuck where I am in this job. Well, imagine how different life could look if you did get it. How can we prepare? Because you're not in control of the outcome, right? You're only in control of how you prepare. So how can we get your preparation to be great? Well, I can write down a list of everything that I need, okay? You can have your shirt ironed the day before and make sure it's in a suit carrier so it doesn't get any creases or stains on it, okay? It takes 45 minutes to get there and your meeting's at 9, so we want to set off at 7 and go sit at a local coffee shop round the corner so we don't even entertain the idea of being late. Okay, what else can I do? You can't work on the outcome. You can only work on the preparation for said outcome.
Yeah.
So, but by having that simple conversation in your mind with your roommate, not the inner villain, because the inner villain's going to tell you you're a loser. The inner villain's going to tell you that is not possible. It just softens it. So if it is a little bit of self-doubt creeping in, similar to what we said earlier, with the, when you're eating the takeaway and you think it's good for you and it isn't, and having the beer and you think it's good for you and it isn't, every action that we do as people begins with a positive intention. Even in extreme circumstances, even in murder. So the murderer is trying to gain significance over the victim, in their mind at least. In their mind, this is a good thing. And we know that's absolutely false and it's a terrible thing. But the positive intention was for him to gain significance. So if we can do it in the extremities of that, we can definitely do it in day-to-day decisions too. Why did my boss shout at me? Maybe because he feels really insecure because his marriage is failing. And maybe he didn't sleep well last night because his kids are up crying all night. Maybe he's got imposter syndrome so much so he has to yell in order to gain respect because that's how his mentor taught him. It doesn't mean you're a loser or you're bad at your job or that he hates you. So just understand that this is a very freeing but very irritating way to live because you know why everybody does everything. In a sense.
Yeah.
So you overanalyze.
Well, one of the things that I'm hearing quite a lot that you're saying is I'm hearing a lot of questions. And questions are so essential, in my opinion. Really asking questions that that want answers, not questions that give you answers. I'm hearing a lot of how can I, not it's all hopeless. It's or how do I fix this situation? How do I make this better? How can I understand this? Why does this work this way? How important is language in all of this when you're getting started? Because it seems to me like it would be very important to think about the words that you're using in your day-to-day life and how you talk to yourself and other people. Does that have a big impact on all of this?
Oh my God, yeah. I'm a huge stickler for language. So sometimes people think of it as being pedantic, but I always warn them before. It's like when people say no offense and then cause offense. So, but in this instance, it's coming from a great place. And look, I don't want to be pedantic. However, I do want to challenge some of the wording that you're using because it's very strong. So I see it every single day. I had it literally 2 hours ago within an appointment. The client said, I don't know what it is. I'm just really down all the time. I'm like, I wonder, why do you think you're really down all the time? And he said, why are you talking so slowly? I said, I'm just mirroring you. He's like, is that what? That's not how I sound. I said, yes, it is. And he goes, oh, God. Is that seriously what I sound like? I went, yeah. You're talking really slow. Big, deep breaths. He started rubbing his face a bit. Physiology was down. Now, I'm not suggesting that we implement false positivity here, but maybe we could review physiology. What do you think to that? And he said, yeah. Like, I guess when I put my shoulders back and put my chest out, and instantly I felt like a little tingle down my spine. I was like, okay, what are you focusing on when you focus on all the negative things? Like how bad I am at this and how I can't do that. And it's the basic foundations of the words that we attach to things. And we put a lot of, again, when people say I'm in a constant battle with my mind, I was like, where are the weapons?
Yeah.
Where's the shield? And they're like, oh, right, yeah, okay, you're doing that thing again. I said, no, let's just get serious. You're associating, defending, or attacking your emotions. There's no need to attack or defend. There's just processing or not processing. There's talking about it or there's not talking about it. So you're not in a constant battle with your mind. You're experiencing a challenging thought and you're not quite sure how to handle it. Is a much better narrative, wouldn't you agree? Yeah, I'd agree. Okay. Because like I just said there, I never encourage false positivity because it's more toxic than negativity.
Yes.
We don't want to just smile and say everything's great and it's fine and it's dandy when it isn't, because that's only going to cause more problems. Because people say a problem shared is a problem halved, only in the right environment. If you share a problem in the wrong environment, that can be just as bad because people try fix you and people try save you and people put the cape on and want to rescue you. But I don't need to fix anybody. Nobody's broken. We can just reframe things in a very different way. People say to me, there's just no light at the end of the tunnel. Well, where's this tunnel? Where's it going?
Yeah.
And there is no tunnel, and you are the light. So just start living in that. And, I say to people one question when they start telling me how bad their life is or the things that they should or shouldn't have done. When are you going to be good enough? And straight away, people just don't know how to answer that question. Well, I guess when I earn the six figures, no. I don't know. When I get a six pack, no. I don't know. What's the answer? Right now. Right now what? Right now you're good enough. And straight away it's like a big release, right? Because they've realized that while self-improvement is important, self-love for where you're at right now is just as important. And I'm not saying that, we can't move forwards and we can't want to change things and become better. But don't get it twisted in thinking that you're not enough as you are right now either. So the language, I'm getting there. Getting where? Where's there? Because there, apparently, everyone has it all worked out. Everyone's in great shape. Everyone's a millionaire. Everyone's just smiling all the time, right? But there doesn't exist. We can be right. All we have is right here. And people go, oh, I can't wait for next weekend. It's going to be an amazing weekend. I'm going to be so happy. Why wait?
Yeah.
Why not be happy today? What's going to happen next weekend? Or I just need a holiday. I just need a vacation. Why? It's just you in another country. Your problems are going to follow you. Or you can learn how to handle those problems today and right now and still enjoy your holiday. But you can also enjoy right now. And again, I'm not suggesting that for a second, oh, well, what if my parents have just passed away? Or what if I've just, got divorced? I'm not suggesting those extremes. I'm talking just day-to-day general things here where, people live in these emotions. So, of course, there are extreme things that can happen day to day. So I don't want anyone to listen to this, get it twisted, that it's just a simple light switch. But, what you focus on, you will find all the time. If you want to focus on all the crap things about your body, cool. Where's the checklist? If you want to focus on all the amazing things about your life, you could also find quite a few good things as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I could talk to you about this stuff literally for 4 more hours. But I want to thank you for sharing everything today. This has been absolutely awesome, and I hope we get to do this again. This has been fantastic. Thanks for talking to me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. It's been great. I've loved it. It's everything that this podcast stands for is what it needs to do. And, not just men talking about it, but having a safe space for men to share without the fear of being judged or fixed is what's needed right now, but just in the general world, So the one last little bit I will say to anyone, if anyone comes to you with a problem and they're feeling suicidal or they're feeling really down, don't try fix it. Just listen. Just provide that safe space and don't try save them because they don't need saving. Just listen. Ask more open-ended questions or sometimes just be comfortable sat in an uncomfortable silence. That's the only last thing I would leave on, because too many times people go, here's what you need to do. And it's like, I don't need your answers. I just want to share.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. And there you have it. Wasn't that a great conversation? I've learned a lot from him. As a matter of fact, I myself am on a journey of discovery and weight loss and pushing myself in directions that I never thought I was capable of. If you want to find more Adam Smith, and I know that you do, go to agameconsultancy.com. There are links to where you can find him on social media and everything there. Also, if you want to know what else is going on in the Randomify universe, Never Been Fit is going to be dropping very, very soon. You can follow never_ben_fit on Instagram to get the details on this brand new project that's going to be shaping up. Tim Rooney has a brain tumor, and he's got to lose weight and get himself in the best shape of his life to make sure the surgery is a success. Follow the journey. Be a part of it. I am. But until next week, don't kill yourselves out there.